Yes, ma'am. So SQL queries. Yeah, okay, ma, everyone. Whoever is there online, everybody.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if where condition gani maybe group by, where then what you call group by having. Yeah, and yesterday like other things like joins, subqueries. Yeah, yesterday again somebody were asking union, all. I think you have a clarity, right? So when you use joins, you will get only common records, right? Because
Yes, sir.
because we are using a on is like a where only, on is like a where condition, which will filter the records. But union all, we are not filtering anything. Just simply we are selecting all records of multiple tables, right? All records of from one table, second table, like that.
Yes, sir.
But when you use union all, what is the rule? In the first select statement, how many columns you are selecting? The
3
second
if
select statement also should have same
that
number of columns, right? Count,
yes,
number of columns must be same.
same.
Like that. So union all. Next, yesterday we learned procedures, triggers. Procedures, triggers.
Views.
Procedure and triggers both are same, but procedures we can schedule them, or we can also execute manually. But triggers are automatically executed, right? Automatically, we cannot schedule it them, right? Let's say for every 1 hour it has to execute. Like that, we cannot schedule a trigger. But procedure at schedule we can schedule a procedure, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Procedure we can schedule. Trigger, what happens? Whenever we insert a record or update or delete, something should happen automatically on some other tables, right? Then we write a trigger. Okay, then views we have seen. View is like a virtual table, right? So view
Yes.
also, view also works like a table only. See, whatever SQL queries you are writing, we all SQL queries we can write on view also. With group by, having, where condition, all we can write on view, because view is a virtual table. But view physically doesn't have any data, right? View internally will get data from the tables only. View will get the data from physical tables only, right? But through
Yes,
view,
sir.
if you see, we can see only some part of the data, not all the data in the table. Okay, like that we can use views. In the next, what else we learned yesterday? Constraints, right? Constraints like primary key, foreign key, unique key, right? Then what else? Check constraint, rules, like that we learned what are all different constraints we discussed, right? Primary key, foreign key, unique key, check constraints, rules, etc. like this. Okay.
Yes, sir.
What else we learned yesterday? Transactions, transactions like begin, commit, rollback, like that. So usually, yeah, any SQL statements, what happens in the backend? Always developer have to ensure that all SQL queries should be executed in the begin and commit transaction, because when they run the query in between begin and commit, then there is a possibility if something goes wrong they can roll back it. Okay, if something goes wrong they can roll back the code, right? So that possibility is there. That's why any SQL queries should be written between begin and commit transaction, right? Yeah, so transactions. What else we learned yesterday? I think we learned yesterday procedure, trigger, view, constraints, transactions, like that. Okay. Yeah. So hope this is all what you should understand as a test engineer. Okay. Next, today we'll talk about what is database testing pointer. Then database testing we will discuss. Okay. Now see, yeah, please, all of you, till here it is okay, right? I can continue
Yes,
with the
sir.
database testing.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Now, if you take any applications, right? Any software application, if you take, any software application you take, we know this is the front end application. and this is the backend database. Okay, that's okay. There is a business logic, right? Middle server. Yeah. So any web application, this is a 3-tier architecture. User interface.
Yes, sir.
This is what is
Business logic,
logic server, and this is the
backend,
backend
database.
database. Yeah. Now, as any user, any user will be interacting only with UI.
Yes.
Yeah. So UI, through which we interact with the application, like, any transaction, anything we want to do, because as a test engineers, what we do is all black box testing.
Yes, sir.
Black box testing, we interact with the, we test the application through UI. And even in real time also, the end users, the client or, the business users, everybody will access only UI. Nobody will
Yes.
access directly database or business logic, right? Now, whatever data, whatever data we input, right? Input in the sense, whatever data we input means, like, let's say we register new users, right? Register a new user. Register a new user. Or let's say, for example, if it is e-commerce application, suppose you buy a product. Okay, or you want to, let's say, you want to get user details like user profile you want to get. Okay, or you want to get the whatever your orders, right? Get order status. If you see here, when you buy a new product or register, or if you do something, what happens? This data will be going to the database, and this is stored in the database, right?
Yes.
Okay, we will go to the business logic. Here there is a connectivity program written and validations are done. If all the data is correct, if there is no invalid data, if there is no wrong data, some fields, all fields are entered. No, the mandatory fields are not blank. Mandatory fields are not blank. All that validations are done here, and this data will go to the database. And this data will be inserted, right? This data is inserted in the database.
Yes,
This data will be stored somewhere in the tables. This data will be stored somewhere in the database tables, right?
yes, sir.
Yes, all of you. So
Yes,
when
sir.
you register a new user, but suppose you buy any product online, your product information is stored in the database, right?
Yes, sir.
So how they are doing? They're inserting, right? When new records are inserted in the
Yes.
table. Okay. Next, if you are get the user details or get order status, this request will go here, and this request will select the data from database and display on the UI, right? Okay, this request will go check the data, and what is that? Get user profile means we are getting the data from database and display only, right? User information.
Yes, sir.
Order status means whatever order we place, what is the status of the order? We are getting the details and displaying, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So whatever we do in the front end, as a normally as an application, when we do, okay, the data is transferring. The data is transferring between UI to database. Data is transferring between UI to database. And again, from database to UI, there is a transfer of data happening, right? Between UI to database and database to UI.
Yes, sir.
So any application you realize, now any application you think, okay, even if it's a healthcare application or banking or insurance or whatever application you realize, whatever transactions we do, some data is going to database and updating. Some data we are fetching from database and displaying on the screens. Yeah,
User
maybe different screens, some different data, right? Okay, but suppose I need all the sales information. What are all the sales happened, for last month? When admin people see the front end application, what are the total sales happened? As per this request, it will go to the request to the database, get all the sales information and display in the UI, right? To see what is how much business they have done for analysis purpose. Yeah. So hope you understand, ma. So whatever we are doing on the UI, either data is inserting in the database, or we are fetching the data from database and displaying on the UI, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But a banking application you take, ma. You register you create an account, or you did deposit. When you do deposit or when you transfer a fund, what happens, ma? That is updated in the database tables. Okay, some amount is debited from your account and credited to the other person's account. And there is some update happening in the database, right? But if you want a statement, let's say for last 2 months, a statement I need from this date to this date, from date to date. I need all the transaction details. Then it will get all the transactions you did, and it will get the data from database and update in the UI, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is a data transferring between UI to database and database to UI.
UI.
Right? Okay. So this is what happens, always when we are doing, when we are working with the application. Yeah. Okay. So when we want to test the database, so as we understood here, always, the data transfers between, user interface to database and database to UI, right?
User
So what
interface.
happens between the application and the database, right? Okay. When we are doing, database testing, so we have to verify, the data flows between UI and database.
Database.
So we have to verify all the fields in the UI, all the fields in the UI are properly mapped with the columns and tables in the database. Hey, but when I register a new user in the UI, when I register a new user in the UI, we need to now how do you see? We have to verify this user details are properly updated in the database tables only, ma. But the data where it is updated in the database tables only. So now we have to verify the data is properly, whatever registration details I gave. Let's say I gave username, email, password, something, date of birth. All these details are properly stored in the database tables. We have to verify, right?
Yes.
But how do you verify? There you need a knowledge. Okay, you need write a SQL query. You need write an SQL query to select the data from some particular table. Okay, where the username equal to so and so name, which we gave in the UI, right?
Yeah.
See, you are a test engineer. You registered one new user in the UI. When you are registering, you gave some username, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you might have given some email ID.
Yeah.
Okay. Now here, can't you write SQL query in here? So select whatever, star from some particular table name. So where that email ID equal to whatever, the email we entered in the front end, right?
Yeah.
But you user interface lo whatever email ID or whatever ID we gave, can't we fetch the data from database and see? Select query, you can write SQL query and we can see, right?
Yes, sir.
So what output should it should display? It should display the same user which I registered in the UI, Gadma.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So data flows from between UI and database. So we want to verify all the fields in the UI are properly, all the fields.
Map.
All the fields means whatever input we gave, right, in the text box or drop down list. Or maybe if it is a gender means we might have selected the field like, male or female, we selected a radio button. Okay. But in the database table, in the column, gender column, it should store like female or male, right? Yes, ma, please respond, ma. If you are understanding or not understanding, please let me know.
Sir.
Clear,
Yes,
sir.
yes, sir.
In the UI, if you have selected a gender radio button, either male or female radio button, but in the database table, it should be storing the column, gender column, either male or female, right? That word it should be stored. Yeah. So all the UI are mapped, with the columns in the database table, we have to verify. Okay. Next, whenever an action is performed on the UI, right? Like create a new user or update a user details or delete or get data from database, etc. So verify the action will execute successfully, and also verify the data transferred between UI and database matches. What we are doing in the UI, what data we updated in the database is properly the data is stored. Okay, there is no loss of data, right? There is no loss of data. Or in the UI, I entered some data, sir, but in the database table, that field is showing blank. Okay, that means that we don't know, right? Because we cannot see this business logic code written by developer. Here, if some business logic is missing, if here some logic is missing, now definitely the data is not properly updated in the database, right?
Yeah.
So we have to verify whatever data we entered, exactly all the data is properly available in the database. We have to see. Is this okay, ma? This is simple basic points.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
whenever
sir.
we create, whenever we create, register, or update, or delete, or get data, so verify the action will execute successfully, and all the data is properly mapped. All the data is correctly showing. What is front end showing, what is back end showing, all is same. There is no mismatch in the data, right? That we have to verify. Is it okay?
Yeah.
So if it is a e-commerce application like that, so you try to register a new customer. Okay, see that customer details are updated in the database. So customer has purchased some products. See that these order details are stored in the database. So customer have edited the order. So see that again the edited details are displayed properly updated in the database. So if customer have cancelled the order, see that the cancellation details are updated in the database. See that customer have done a payment. See that payment information is showing in the database. So customer have cancelled the order. Send that say after some time refund is also done, and here the the financial information is showing no transaction, right? There is no revenue because one customer have placed an order, again he cancelled it. So what is the total revenue? It should say zero only, right? I'm talking about one record, just for understanding.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So you are testing an application. One customer have purchased a product of worth of let's say 10,000. After some time he cancelled it. So now what is the total sales? It should show zero only, right?
0, yeah.
Yes,
So
sir.
see that all this information everywhere in the reports are properly displaying. So suppose in the in the UI, say one customer have placed an order. If a customer have placed an order and it is listen carefully. If customer have placed an order and he purchases products of worth of 10,000. Okay. Now after some time customer have cancelled the order. When cancellation is done, this amount will be refunded, right?
Yes, sir.
Now in the back office admin people, when they generate report, what is the total sales done? Total sales done, the report also should display somewhere information. Oh, there was an order placed where they got a revenue of 10,000, but again it was cancelled where the 10,000 was directed back, right? Like that the report should say. And again, report should not say that this data, see, some data is available which is shown for the front end user. Some data is available to show for the back end people. Now this data also should show the same, right? Saying that as if it is cancelled and revenue is total sales is zero.
Yes.
All right, so our front end point of view, this user point of view, this report is showing some data, but back end people data is showing something else. No, it should not be like that, right? All the data we should maintain consistency, right? Is not all the data should be maintained consistency in the system. Like one screen shows some data, some other screen shows old data. It should not be like that, yes or not?
Yeah.
Okay, so these things we have to ensure. That means if something is updated in one screen means all the related screens, all the related web pages should display the same data, not like old data. Right? That means in the database also the data should be consistent. Consistency should be maintained across all the tables. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So this point is understood, ma? So we have to verify all the data transferred between UI and database correctly matches. Yeah. Next, database, when we are doing testing, we have to check for these properties, ma. These are called as ACID properties. Okay, this is very, very important. What is that we need to check for? ACID properties. So this is called as it is atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. So what is the meaning of this? Atomicity, here written, right? Atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability.
Durability.
So what are these things? Acid properties. See, atomicity says that, okay, that's what yesterday we learned. When we are, see, 1 minute. Here customer is doing the, okay, customer is buying a product, customer is buying a product. To buy a product, what are the steps happens internally? Internal, what are the transactions happens? First, customer have to add a product to the cart, right?
Yes.
Then
Yes,
the
sir.
customer is adding
Yes.
the products to the cart.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now this is the first step. Okay. Now products are added to the cart. Then products are added to the cart. Next step. Now customer click on proceed to pay. Customer, right? After saying that, customer says that proceed to pay. Next, third step. Payment is done successful. Payment should be done successful. Once payment is done successful, now fourth step. Oh, this order is confirmed. This order is confirmed. And it should be updated in the database. That means now all these 4 steps happen successfully. All the 4 steps happen successfully. Then only the data should be updated in the database. Now, anywhere in the middle, if something goes wrong, something error, what should happen? Everything should roll back to the beginning state, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
How they will ensure that if something goes wrong, we can roll back?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How developer can ensure that if something goes wrong, he can roll back?
Code will write the code.
Whatever SQL queries
Error.
they are writing in the business logic here, whatever the SQL queries they are writing, developer is writing the SQL queries. All these queries should execute between, begin and commit, right?
Yes, sir.
Begin and
Yes, sir.
commit.
Commit.
Yeah, here you should have verified if something goes wrong, if error, then roll back, right? Roll back. Like
Yes,
that
sir.
they should have written, right? So that's what atomicity we want to ensure that. So atomicity says that means any transaction either fails or pass. Atomicity means that a transaction either fails or pass. This means that even if a single part of the transaction fails, it means the entire transaction has failed. Yes, ma'am. If some, during some process, if something fails means then what is the meaning? Entire is failed. Okay, usually this is called as either you do all or nothing. Either cheste 100% you do, otherwise don't do nothing. It's not like, sir, 70% is done, 30% fail. It is incomplete transaction. It should never be like that.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that leads to what?
Yes, sir.
That leads to inconsistency of data, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what. Now, what we are saying, sir, that leads to inconsistency of data means, sir, one screen shows the new data, some other screen is showing old data only, because here this transaction only some percentage is completed. Sir, some data is showing in some system, in some data has not been done. This transaction is incomplete, so this is not showing in somewhere else. Sir, some screen is showing something, some screen is showing something else. This leads to inconsistency of data, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so atomicity, what is the rule says that either whenever a transaction is done from front end to back end, any transaction which is done from front end to back end,
Back end.
100% the transaction should be done or nothing should be done.
Yes, sir.
Understood, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
It's not like half done, half incomplete, then leads to a inconsistency, right?
Yes, sir.
Suppose when user is registering, suppose when a new user is registering, so when registration is done, for example, when registration is done, if a new user registration is done, sir, this data went to the database system. This data went to the database system, but somewhere it has sent some verification information to the registered mail ID. Some information shown to the verification, when you do registration, it will send a mail
Yes, sir.
saying
Yes,
that
sir.
confirm and verify your account. After you go to your personal mail and authenticate, then only your registration is successful, right? Otherwise, registration is not successful.
Successful.
So till authentication is done, in these systems, what they should have done, this data should not go to the actual business tables. This type of registrations, they should maintain some other, what you call, some other, what I can say, like temporary tables or somewhere, right?
Yes,
Just
sir.
for naming, I'm saying some temporary tables. This registration data first go to this temporary tables only, not to the real business tables. But once this user receive a mail and once it is confirmed, authentication is confirmed, then this data is permanently stored in the system. Till then, this will be stored only in the temporary location, right? Some other tables, right? Not in the real business tables. That means what is this tables will have? This table will have only users who registered but who have not authenticated.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe just for some sake they might have created, but they have not authenticated their account. So there is no use of this data, right, for real business.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So once the user is registered and after authentication, then the data will come here and it is active. Oh, now this data they can use, right, for further login purpose, or if they want to log in, they want to do something, then this data is useful. Without authenticating, they cannot log in, right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So here, once, that's what I'm saying, once the registration is done, once the account is activated, right? Once the authentication is done, then only all these transactions should be done successful. Otherwise, still it is maintained here only. No other system shows, the user has to log in, or maybe business people shows that, oh, these many users have registered. Not like that. This data will be there in some other tables, right? అందుకని మనకి ఇప్పుడు e-commerce అప్లికేషన్స్ ఉంటాయమ్మా. జనరల్లీ వెన్ యూ టాక్ అబౌట్ సో మెనీ బిజినెస్ అప్లికేషన్స్ ఏదైనా తీసుకోండి, యూ టేక్ ఎయిర్టెల్ ఆర్ యూ టేక్ జియో ఆర్ యూ టేక్ ఎనీ e-commerce అప్లికేషన్స్, బిజినెస్ అప్లికేషన్స్, ఎనీ బిజినెస్ అప్లికేషన్స్ యూ టేక్. So you might have called a customer care people, or you got some promotional activity, promotional information from somewhere. Okay, you went to your shopping mall and somebody explaining about their products, and you are not at that point of time, you are not interested, but they have collected your information, right? Yes, ma. So through some promotions or somewhere, they might have collected your details, ma, or
Yes,
you
sir.
might have given your details. That means these are all,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
okay, this promotional data information which they got, are you a real customer for them?
No.
No, sir.
But you gave your information, your mobile number, your name, your email ID, you gave it. But this data is called only a leads. What is this data is called as? This is called only a leads. This is only a marketing data, Gadamma. They got this data through marketing. This is only a leads.
Yes, sir.
Okay, suppose you gave your information, say one marketing executive came to you and explained about their product, ma. Okay, anything, ma, some electronic product or some real estate, some construction company, they're explaining, sir, there is some plots, or their villa is there, or some product, electronic product, sir, this product has these features you can use, like that, something they are explaining you. And at the end, they are asking, sir, please can you give your details, like your name, email ID, phone number, like that. Okay, fine, you gave the details. What did they do? They will, they will keep the data in their systems, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
This data, where it is stored? This data is stored in something what they call leads. Okay, this table is called a leads table. That means this data they got through marketing, but they are not real customers for them. These people are not real customers. When they will become real customers? Oh, they got some, let's say they got 1,000 inquiries. They got, let's say today, 1,000 inquiries. And how many leads are there? 1,000 leads are there. Okay, in these
Yes, sir.
1,000 leads, now when the sales people followed up them again, when the sales people again followed up saying that, sir, we have your details, just you might have inquired with us, sir, one offer is there. If you are able to buy this product, or if you are able to purchase this within this week or some time, sir, you will get a discount of this much. It's very good feature, sir. Again, you don't have this. Something they are explaining, right? Marketing strategies. Okay,
Yeah.
now you are, okay, in these 1,000 leads, let's say, for example, 100 people are interested and they purchase the product. Now this information will be available in some other tables. Now this is the real customers, right? Yes or no?
Yes,
Now
sir.
these are all what you call real customers.
Customers.
Okay, now it is